Hey guys, it's Hank from Sprues and Brews, and today I wanted to talk to you about a video that I just saw on TikTok, and I think it's particularly interesting and relevant to both the terrible situation that's going on in Ukraine right now and the World War II subjects that we usually talk about on this channel. Now, for folks like me who are into military vehicle history, we're used to seeing tanks and aircraft on our news feeds on a regular basis. But now, since Russia launched this unprovoked attack on the sovereign democratic nation of Ukraine, pretty much everybody's getting tanks and fighter jets on their newsfeed on a regular basis. So I saw this video today and I wanted to share it with you guys because it deals with tanks and anti-tank warfare. Specifically the steps that a tank crew will take to protect against unusual attacks. We're talking today about appliqué armor. So I'll show you the video first and then we'll chat about it a little bit. But before we do that, I've included links in the description below with resources to direct you to aid organizations that are directly helping the people in Ukraine. I highly encourage you to check those out when you have a chance, and please donate if you can. So here's that video in 3, 2, 1. This video was posted earlier today by TikTok user Help Me I'm From Ukraine. That is the TikTok handle if you want to check them out on your own time. I don't know who this user is. At time of recording, they have around 2,000 followers, but it appears that the video is real. The Russian tank does bear the same markings that we've seen on other Russian vehicles in the build-up to the attack and since it started about a week ago now, so I think it's safe to assume that this video was shot very recently. The thing that stood out to me in this video, though, as I hinted at before, is the appliqué armor that's on the roof of the turret. I'm not an expert on contemporary Russian military equipment. I think this is a T-90, but if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments below. But one thing is for sure, that standoff armor roof that's on top of the turret is not stock, and this is the first time I've seen it in footage of a Russian tank since the invasion started. It appears to me that it's a metal cage structure that's been welded on top of the turret roof, and it's covered with sandbags or other soft protective systems. My thought here, though, is that Russian tank crews are adding this appliqué armor to their vehicles as a result of the losses they're experiencing from foreign aid anti-tank missile systems that have been sent to Ukrainian forces since the conflict started. Russian equipment losses are reported to already be pretty high, and Ukrainian forces are already reporting as many as 200 Russian tanks have been knocked out in the first week of the invasion. A lot of this is due to the missile systems that I mentioned before, namely the NLAW and the Javelin. The NLAW, or Next Generation Light Anti-Tank Weapon, is coming from the UK, and the Javelin is coming from the United States. Now, handheld anti-tank weapon technology is not a new creation, and the DIY countermeasures that tank crews have had to come up with to ward off these weapon systems have been around almost since the invention of the tank itself. If you look at reference imagery of Sherman tanks in Western Europe during the final months of World War II, it's a very common sight to see these Shermans draped with sandbags, with logs slung on the side of the tank. Some are even covered in concrete to act as extra armor protection for the tank itself. Now, in part, this was done to protect against other tanks for tank v tank battles, but specifically, these countermeasures were added to protect against a single weapon, the Panzerfaust. The Panzerfaust was a disposable weapon that fired a single-shot anti-tank warhead, and it was extremely effective at knocking out Allied armor during the final months of World War II. This thing was particularly dangerous because of its size and simplicity. It didn't require an expert soldier to operate, it was pretty much point and shoot. So these things were distributed everywhere to German soldiers and civilians alike, and to deadly success. It's estimated that nearly 70% of Allied tanks knocked out during urban combat situations in Germany itself were victims of the Panzerfaust. 70%! So Allied tankers were right to be afraid of this weapon, and they did everything they could to protect their tanks against this threat. By adding sandbags, logs, or even concrete to their tanks, the hope was that they could detonate this Panzerfaust warhead before it struck the actual armor of their tank. So it makes sense that we're seeing similar defense mechanisms being taken up by Russian forces as they roll into Ukraine into these urban and city environments. If we look at this Russian tank again in Ukraine, it's clear that this appliqué armor has been added to protect the roof of the turret of the tank. And that's because these weapon systems, the NLAW and the Javelin, are specifically designed to attack those weak points on the upper surfaces of the tank. Tanks generally sacrifice thicker armor on the upper surfaces of the vehicle in exchange for thicker, better armor elsewhere. And that's because traditional weapon systems generally can't hit the upper surfaces of a tank. Another tank, for example, is going to have a pretty hard time shooting the roof of an opposing tank. But these infantry weapons, like the NLAW and the Javelin, can fire a missile in an indirect path that will come down and strike an enemy tank where it's the most vulnerable. And another thing that makes them super effective is their size. NLAWs and Javelins can be operated by a single soldier, and much like their World War II predecessor, the Panzerfaust, are pretty sneaky and can be easily hidden. All of that comes together to create a perfect storm for the Russian tanks that are rolling into Ukraine. And as we can see, Russian tankers are rightfully concerned, as they should be. Like I mentioned before, this is the first footage I've seen with this improvised screen, so it'll be interesting to see in future footage that's coming out as the days go by if we start to see more of this appliqué protective system on Russian tanks. So as technology evolves and geopolitical situations change over the years, the mighty tank still has a thorn in its side. And that thorn is the handheld anti-tank weapon. One that the brave men and women fighting in Ukraine are clearly putting to good use. So thanks for watching today. Again, please check out those links in the description below to find out how you can help donate and support the people fighting to defend Ukraine. And let me know in the comments below what you think of this next development in anti-tank warfare and how it's going to play out. Until next time, guys, be well, happy building, cheers.